Hello and welcome to the channel. This is Mish, and in this video I'm gonna break down my Panasonic S5IIX rig. This is not my daily rig or how I use the camera all of the time, but rather a rig that I use specifically for short films, when this little camera becomes a proper production tool. In this video I'm gonna break down every component of the rig, as well as go through my logic of putting everything together and talk about the accompanying cases where I keep all the accessories and necessary equipment to keep me going on 12-hour-a-day shifts. Let's start with the base. The whole thing sits on these 15mm rods that are attached to the small rig 15mm adapter. At the bottom I have a Manfrotto plate for a tripod, and on top of that I have another quick release plate, but this time it's an Arca Swiss system and an Arca Swiss plate attached to the camera itself. Sometimes I swap this to a Manfrotto style plate when I need to use a gimbal and need to use the DJI Manfrotto plate. Having a second plate is very convenient because you can slide the camera back and forth if you need to do some balancing or just to adjust the position of certain elements. Apart from that, what you can see here inside is that my lens adapter, which is the Sigma EF to L mount adapter, is also additionally bolted into this plate using a separate bolt. This gives the whole lens support system more rigidity, and this way I can attach even really heavy lenses and not worry about damaging the camera lens mount or my adapter. At the back of the camera I have another structural element, which is this 15mm rod 90 degrees adapter, which I use basically so that the camera rests on these metal parts instead of any other crucial components. So this way the camera sits on these 3 points, on the lens support mount I have here, and this focus wheel. At the front I have this lens support, which I use with longer and heavier lenses. If I'm using something small and short like this one here, I would usually swap these long rods for shorter ones and ditch the lens support. Now let's take a look at this upper portion of the rig. I have this tilt handle on top attached on NATO rails, and another 15mm rods which holds a radio focus. The reason I'm using a radio focus here and not on the lower rods is because if I need to throw the camera on the gimbal, I can simply pull this radio focus down, take the camera off this second adapter plate, and it's ready for gimbal work. Speaking of focus, I'm using this trusty follow focus when I'm operating the camera by myself, and if I have a first AC or focus puller, I can use a radio focus for some crucial shots or all of the time. On this side of the rig I have a lav mic receiver, which I use to get sound from the sound guys, and they send me a signal to this lav mic. Sometimes this is replaced with a timecode generator. When I'm using this camera for short films, I prefer using SSD recording, and here's my SSD drive in this small rig case and enclosure. There's another 15mm rod adapter here, and I can slide it around if necessary and change its position. The SSD cable is here, and the SSD drive itself is additionally secured with this little rubber strap. Now let's talk about power. The whole rig is powered by one V-mount battery. It's a 99 watt-hour battery that powers the camera through USB-C dummy battery that's inside of the camera and powers the monitor and sender through this D-tap connector. I have the battery oriented in this way inside of the rig because it makes the whole rig a bit compact, and also works as a good resting place for a monitor when it's out like this and the battery is inside. The monitor sits here and the whole thing is pretty compact. The only downside is that the screen of the battery is inside and is sometimes hard to see. The monitor and the sender receive power through this 3-way D-tap connector that has its cable running to the battery. This 3-way connector is basically a double-sided NPF battery, and it has a Type-C out, which I use to power the radio focus. This is a very nice and compact way of powering the whole setup because this adapter with the sender weighs still less than one big NPF battery, so it's very handy. The thing doesn't become too front heavy and functions perfectly fine. I basically run through 2 or 3 V-mount batteries per day. Of course I recharge them, and it's usually 2 batteries that I have that are constantly running and 1 that I have just as a backup. The camera is usually on about 9 hours per 12-hour shifts. I turn it on early in the morning after initial setup and turn it off before wrap time. So 9 to 10 hours of operating on 2 to 3 99 watt-hour batteries. Now let's talk about monitoring. The main monitor is on top and it's attached to the top handle with this very basic magic arm that I've had for years and it still serves me fine. There's also a sender here and HDMI cables. So I have one HDMI cable running to the monitor from the camera and another HDMI connecting the monitor to a video sender. A few words about this adapter on the side. This was originally designed by SmallRig for Blackmagic cameras and it has an HDMI and USB Type-C pass-through. This Type-C also allows SSD recording, but I prefer to connect my SSD directly into camera because I had a few cases where HDMI cable failed me and resulted in a corrupt file, so I prefer to have as little in-betweens here as possible. So my SSD is connected directly to the camera without this thing. Although this works perfectly fine and I've used it as well. It's just a safety thing. An HDMI cable from this thing runs into the camera. This means that this port is kinda not strained, and it's nice to have top connection for this HDMI cable so that everything is easily accessible. So I connect it here and then to the monitor. I like having angled HDMI cables because nothing is sticking down below, so that when my hand is at the handle, nothing is interfering or is in the way. Another thing to talk about when it comes to monitoring is this thing at the back. This is my old phone, which I no longer use, but I have it on my camera at all times, connected with another magic arm, and it's connected to Hollyview App, and I use it to take reference screenshots when I'm working on something and need to keep consistency throughout the shots. As you can see, I take screenshots of the images I'm capturing, as well as false color images that I also record from camera. Now let's take a look at the accompanying case where I keep all of the additional camera stuff. This first bag is where I keep the lav mic. Then there's an air blower to brush things off after a dusty shoot. Then this little pouch where I keep some accessories like a little tape, a measuring tape, a laser measure, and SD cards, just in case. Then on this side, in this bag, I have a matte box. If I'm using a filter, I keep it installed to make the rigging quicker. A black and white marker to label some things. An additional 50mm rod, a magic arm, some rubber straps and bongo ties, a little case with additional audio cables, a monitor case with some HDMI cables inside, a focus crank, and step-up rings from the matte box, and this phone holder, just in case. My multi-tool lives here, as well as all kinds of Allen wrenches in metric, imperial, and Torx systems. In this little bag of treasures, I keep all the additional rigging stuff like spigots, 1/4 and 3/8 bolts, and stuff like this. Some additional USB-C data cables are here. And this side is usually for lenses. Also there are filters with different step up and down rings, an air blower, a lens cleaning tissue. On this side I have a piece of black wrap and another lens cleaning tissue. Now for the second case. This is my power case, more or less. In here I keep the SmallRig follow focus with all of its additional accessories. It's a bit of a waste of space to keep a bag inside a bag, but I borrowed this from a friend who's watching these videos, so why not keep it extra safe? Next, NPF battery charger, V-mount batteries and a quick charger, another NPF battery charger with the battery that usually goes on this video receiver that's used for the director's monitor, and I have a cable strapped to it, so it's one unit ready to go. Another V-mount battery. Overall I have 4 here, but usually never run through more than 2. A green gaff tape and a marker to label something quickly if I need to. Some additional D-tap power solutions like cables and splitters. And in this pocket I keep all the additional USB-C power cables. That's it for the power bag. When I'm on set, I keep both of these bags close to camera so that everything is easily available and close by. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope this was interesting and entertaining, and please like and subscribe and share your thoughts on my rig and the accessories I use.